Although this movie is not a film noir, it's the closest thing you're going to get to it without being a film noir. The movie Night of the Hunter is so obvious in relation to crime, in relation to obsession, in relation to what do you call religious trickery and lies. It probably ranks as the best movie ever to influence Spike Lee. If you look at the movie Do the Right Thing, there's a direct reference in their love and hate speech to this movie. Now, Night of the Hunter, we're going to talk about it on screenshots today because I think a lot of people are forgetting how good this movie was. And to have Robert Mitchum as the villain and Shelley Winters as the put upon Nazi femme fatale is pretty freaky. Now, it came out in 1955, directed by the great Charles Laughton, and starring Mitchum, Shelley Winters, and the luminous and ageless Lillian Gish. The screenplay by James Agee was based on the 53 novel of the same name by Davis Grubb. The plot is about the preacher Harry Powell, played by Mitchum, a comedic serial killer, and he takes great humor in everything he does, who poses as a preacher and pursues two children in an attempt to get his hands on $10,000 of stolen cash hidden by their late father. The novel and film draw on the true story of Harry Powers, who was hanged in 1932 for the murder of two widows and three children in Clarksburg, West Virginia. The film's lyrical and expressionistic style, borrowing techniques from silent film, sets it apart from other Hollywood films in the 40s and 50s, and it influenced many creators, including Anya Werner Fassbinder, Robert Altman, like I said, Spike Lee, Martin Scorsese, the Coen brothers, and Guillermo del Toro. Now, Night of the Hunter premiered on July 26, 1955 in Des Moines, Iowa, to negative reviews. It became the only directorial feature of Laughton where he got sole credit. But he did Broadway, and he shared, I think, a movie with Burgess Meredith at one point. Over the years, the film has been positively reevaluated. It's considered one of the best films ever made. I consider this top 25 in my oeuvre through the years because my love of film noir came from this, even though my father said it's not film noir. It was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry in 1992. French film magazine Cahiers de Cinéma selected Night of the Hunter in 2008 as the second best film of all time, behind Citizen Kane. Now, produced by Paul Gregory, with also James Gleason, Evelyn Varden, Don Beto, Gloria Castillo, Billy Chapin, Sally Jane Bruce, and a young Peter Graves. Yes, Peter Graves from Mission Impossible, as the prisoner that gives away the details. Now, preacher Harry Powell, again, is a serial killer and self-proclaimed preacher traveling along the Ohio River in West Virginia during the Great Depression. He is arrested for driving a stolen car and serves 30 days at Moundsville Penitentiary. There he shares a cell with Ben Harper, who killed two men in a bank robbery for $10,000. Harper made his children, John and Pearl, promise to never reveal where he hid the money, and that's an ongoing plot. Despite Powell's attempts to worm it out of him, Harper takes the secret to his grave when he's hanged for the murders. Now, upon his release from prison, Powell visits Harper's tiny hometown, where he charms the townsfolk and woos Harper's Willa, played by Shelley Winters before a massive weight gain, a waitress for Walter Spoon and his wife Icy. Overnight, Powell managed to win the town's trust and weds Willa, but John remains instinctively distrustful of him. Powell suspects that John knows where the money is hidden and threatens him to reveal its location. John accidentally reveals that he and Pearl do know where the money is. After Powell refers to consummate their marriage, Willa deludes herself that he married her to redeem her soul and begins preaching alongside him in tent revivals. She later loses his faith in him when she overhears Powell threatening Pearl to make her reveal where the money is hidden. Now, when Powell murders Willow, he unties her body to a Model T that he sinks in a river, then claims she left her family for a life of sin, when Walter and Icy question her abrupt disappearance. And to show on the showcase of Shelley Winters, well, it's her, but her dead body, in play sort of like a mermaid, is just a tremendous scene. Uncle Bertie, an elderly friend of the family, discovers Willow's body while fishing, but refrains from telling the police for fear they would be accused of Willow's murder. Powell then threatens the children and learns the money is hidden inside Pearl's doll. The children escape and enrage Powell and attempt to seek refuge with Bertie, whom they find in a drunken stupor. They use their father's small John boat to flee down the river and find sanctuary with Rachel Cooper, a tough religious woman who looks after stray children. Now, Powell eventually kills a farmer for his horse and eventually tracks them down, but Rachel sees through his deceptions and runs him off of her property with a shotgun. Powell returns after dark, and during a all-night standoff, Rachel gives Powell a face full of birdshot. And there's a big scene, of course, where they're dueling religious hymns on the front step and outside. It's quite good. Now, she eventually summons the state police, who arrive and arrest Powell for Willow's murder. John breaks down to her Powell's handcuffing, having a flashback of his father's fate. He beats the doll against Powell's struggling body in anguish, spilling the stolen cash. Now, during Powell's trial, John cannot bring himself to testify against him. After Powell's sentencing, Rachel takes John and the other children away as Icy leads a lynch mob towards the police station. Powell is escorted out the back to safety just in time, but the prison hangman vows to see him again soon. John and Pearl spend their first Christmas together with Rachel and her brood of stray children. And of course, religion wins out. Now, again, based on the 53 novel The Night Hunter, and brought the book to Laughton, who loved and described it as a nightmarish Mother Goose story. And that's how it plays about. It's like a fairy tale, but it ends in a very, very good but a very dangerous way. Now, the budget for the film was a paltry $600,000, of which about $75,000 was for the rights to adapt the novel, which is quite good. Now, ironically, Laughton had considered casting Gary Cooper as Harry Powell. It would have been a great performance, but Cooper declined the role. He thought it might be detrimental to his career. John Carradine also expressed interest in the role of the preacher, and as Laurence Olivier, but his schedule was not free for 2 years. Robert Mitchum was eager for a part of the preacher. When he auditioned, the moment that particularly impressed Laughton was when he described the character as a diabolical shit, and Mitchum promptly answered present. Laughton liked Mitchum for his role, partly due to his sexual persona, but Greg was concerned about the character of the preacher being considered sexual. Laughton told him, if you want to sell God, you have to be sexy. Now, those considered for the Shelley Winters part included Angus Moorhead, Grace Kelly, which I don't think she would have done, and Betty Grable. Now, Laughton's first role for the role of Rachel Cooper was his wife Elsa Lancaster, the Bride of Frankenstein. Jane Darwell and Louise Fazenda also were considered. Lancaster, for reasons unknown to Laughton, turned down the role, suggesting Lillian Gish for the role. And again, a great casting. Now, principal photography took about 3 months, a total of 36 days of shooting. Now, the lighting of this was almost perfect. Now, rather than shooting with traditional takes, Laughton had the crew only slate at the beginning of each reel of film and let the camera roll continuously and the reel ran out. This was so he could direct the actors while waiting to reset the camera and sound equipment, not unlike the way silent films used to be directed. Now, of course, the director and photographer was tremendous Stanley Cortez, who also did Orson Welles' 1942 film The Magnificent Ambersons, and each scene in this movie, again, he was shooting with Kodak Tri-X. What a tremendous movie, but Laughton said personally, I could not see the film being in color. This would lose all effect. Now, he drew upon numerous German expressionistic films in the 20s for the art direction. Now, the score was tremendous by Walter Schumann and ranks up there with Bernard Herrmann's stuff. Now, the film's editor, Robert Golden, had said that after he screened the complete film to UA studio executives for the first time, the executive told Golden it's too arty. Now, it had a premiere in August, on my birthday, 1955, 10 years before I was born, in New York on September 29, 55, but it didn't do much on the box office because the big one in Canada, especially the Roman Catholic Diocese in Cheyenne and some Catholics across the world, denied the film's release, and Gregory wanted to put together a lawsuit against them, but the studio would not allow it. Now, Bowsley Crowder called it a weird and engrossing endeavor, but we still don't know what the box office was. Now, this movie goes quick. It's only 92 minutes, but I mean, it feels much longer. But even though the fact is the children playing the actors playing the children is not too bad, but it could be better. Now, the Criterion Collection version is the DVD you should get for this. And the cast did appear on the Ed Sullivan Show promoting it. And there was also a deleted scene from the film that was performed there. Now, there's also a 2.5-hour documentary. Charles Laughton directs The Night of the Hunter. And it was remade in 1991 as a TV movie starring Richard Chamberlain, but again, not the same in color. And that's one of the few bombs of Richard Chamberlain's career. Now, the idea about the love and hate, that's the battle in the world, but and would you believe, ladies and gentlemen, this movie was not nominated for any major awards. So I don't know exactly what the people were thinking. But like I said, 1955 was a weird time because you had, film noir, you got all this, tremendous change in the time. Now, according to IMDb, it got some later awards. National Film Registry in 92, and also Best Classic Film Home Media Release in 2024, and it made the Online Film and TV Association Hall of Fame in 2016. But when it came out, no awards. And you would think, ladies and gentlemen, that Charles Laughton, I don't know if they were just basically saying, maybe you shouldn't have done this movie. This is a thumbs up, thumbs down to like the old Southern, religious thing where religion should supersede any semblance of thought. And this will not do on the hustings, ladies and gentlemen. But Lillian Gish was robbed for Best Supporting Actress. Robert Mitchum was robbed of Best Actor, Lead Actor. And of course, Shelley Winters won 2 more Supporting Actresses after this for the Diary of Anne Frank and the movie she did with Elizabeth Hartman and Sidney Poitier. So she won 2 Best Supporting Actresses Oscars, was basically making up for this. So she wouldn't get nominated or won here. She wouldn't have won those 2 Oscars. And Shelley Winters, like I said, at the time, she was an ingenue. She was probably 100 pounds thinner. And like I said, if you're going to drown somebody in a car, she was the best look for it because she looked good at the time. But Shelley Winters, her and her battle with Oliver Reed, my old pal, that's why I don't like her very much. But I love her getting murdered in this movie. So love and hate, guys, you have to think. You're going to choose love or choose hate. I choose love because I hate to love people that don't embrace love. So you got to choose hate before you choose love. Night of the Hunter. Watch it with the lights on. Have a good one. Give us a like, comment, subscribe, or share. Bye.